Housewife's secret love affair with neighbor's son ends in grisly murder. Welcome to Mr. Crime Tales, where we dive into the real-life tales of hidden secrets and dark motives. Today, we uncover a story of betrayal and deadly passion that rattled the peaceful town of Pinewood, North Carolina. This is the case of Sarah Barnes, a stay-at-home mom whose hidden affair with a young neighbor led to a horrific crime. Sarah Barnes was a 45-year-old mother living in Pinewood, a quiet, upper-middle-class suburb just outside Charlotte. Known for her active role in the community, she was part of the local PTA, where she organized school events and fundraisers. She was also a dedicated member of her church choir, singing every Sunday without fail. Friendly and always willing to lend a hand, Sarah was seen as a supportive and dependable figure in the neighborhood. Though she had once dreamed of becoming a teacher, Sarah chose to focus on her family after marrying Adam Barnes, a successful corporate lawyer. Together, they raised two children, Hannah, 17, and Luke, 14. Despite her busy schedule, Sarah always made time for friends and family. However, beneath her ideal suburban life, Sarah felt trapped and lonely. Adam, now 48, was often working late into the night, handling major cases for big banks and navigating legal loopholes to help his clients, even if it meant making tough calls on people's homes during the economic downturn. This long-standing career commitment created a wedge between them, leaving Sarah feeling as though she was living in a gilded cage, longing for attention and excitement she no longer found at home. In the days before her untimely death, Sarah's life appeared as active as ever. She was busy planning her church's Easter event, organizing decorations, and setting up volunteers. Friends saw her chatting at the local coffee shop, sharing laughs over a latte, and appearing cheerful and content. However, inside, she was silently struggling. Known for her warmth and kindness, Sarah had a way of making everyone feel special. Her friends described her as generous and caring, someone who dreamed of a life filled with genuine love and appreciation. Few people knew, though, that Sarah had found that attention in an unlikely place: the arms of her neighbor's 18-year-old son, James Turner. Her secret affair with James provided the thrill and affection she desperately sought. She even kept a hidden journal, where she recorded her emotions, excitement, and guilt over the relationship. As time passed, Sarah became torn between her role as a devoted mother and wife and her desire for something more. Yet, on the morning of March 21, 2012, Sarah's life came to a shocking end, leaving Pinewood stunned and grieving. Around 7:30 a.m. on March 21st, Adam Barnes returned home from a business trip to surprise his wife. He had been in New York for a meeting but had taken an early flight back, hoping to find Sarah making breakfast for their kids. What he found instead was a nightmare. Adam Barnes had taken an early flight back from New York City, excited to surprise his wife, Sarah, and expecting to find her preparing breakfast for their kids. But as he stepped into their home that morning, he found himself walking into a nightmare. Entering the kitchen, Adam froze in horror. There, on the floor, lay Sarah in a pool of blood, her body surrounded by broken dishes and blood splatters covering the walls and floor. She had been both shot and stabbed multiple times. Even more chilling, a mysterious sequence of numbers, 32Z4, was carved into her abdomen. In complete shock, Adam dropped his suitcase and rushed to her side, but it was painfully clear that she was already gone. With trembling hands, he dialed 911. His voice shook as he tried to describe the scene he had just walked into, repeating over and over, "She's gone. She's gone." The dispatcher worked to keep him calm, instructing him to stay with her until the police arrived. Adam knelt beside Sarah, unable to fully comprehend what he was seeing, tears streaming down his face as he held her hand for the last time. The first officer on the scene, Officer Dana Wells, arrived within minutes, having been on patrol nearby. Entering the house, she was momentarily stunned by the brutal scene but quickly took control. She gently guided Adam away from Sarah's body, securing the area as they waited for the detectives to arrive. Adam remained in shock, barely able to speak, as officers attempted to question him. He could only repeat his disbelief, struggling to accept the reality that Sarah was gone. Sarah's body was then taken to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy, while detectives began the initial stages of their investigation. The news of Sarah's tragic murder spread swiftly through Pinewood. Local TV stations, like WCNC, reported on the horrific event, and neighbors gathered outside the Barnes home, trying to make sense of how such a tragedy could occur in their quiet, close-knit community. Following Adam's 911 call, Officer Nora Miller, another nearby patrol officer, was one of the first on the scene. She found Adam sitting in a daze, holding Sarah's hand. Officer Miller quickly secured the area, calling in backup and additional support. Soon after, Detective Tara Williams and Officer Mark D'Angelo, both seasoned investigators, arrived. Detective Williams, known for her attention to detail, surveyed the crime scene with a practiced eye. The kitchen was chaotic, with blood splatters and shattered dishes everywhere. An unmistakable sign of the brutal attack Sarah had endured. Sarah had been stabbed multiple times, and the chilling detail of the number 304 carved into her stomach added an eerie and deeply personal touch to the crime. Detective Tara Williams and Officer Mark D'Angelo began their investigation methodically, capturing every angle of the crime scene. They documented the blood splatters, broken items, and Sarah's body with painstaking detail. To uncover hidden evidence, they used luminol to detect traces of blood that might not be immediately visible and collected fingerprints from surfaces like countertops and doorknobs. DNA samples were also taken from various items around the scene, each test a potential clue that could reveal the identity of the killer. The brutality of the attack led Detective Williams to consider that this was likely a crime of passion. The carved number on Sarah's body felt intensely personal, almost as if the killer wanted to leave a message. Further investigation revealed no signs of forced entry, suggesting that Sarah might have known her attacker. Adam Barnes, still in shock, was taken to the police station for questioning. Struggling to form coherent answers, he grappled with the trauma of the morning's events. Detective Williams and her team approached Adam gently but carefully, asking him about his recent business trip, his relationship with Sarah, and if she had any known enemies. Adam admitted that his long work hours had created some strain in their marriage but firmly denied any involvement in her death. As the forensic team continued to gather evidence, they discovered a partially burnt diary in the fireplace. Although most of the pages were charred beyond recognition, a few legible fragments hinted at a deeper, possibly hidden part of Sarah's life, something that could potentially be connected to her tragic end. Meanwhile, police canvassed the neighborhood, interviewing neighbors and searching for witnesses. Some residents recalled hearing loud noises the previous night but thought little of it. Others spoke warmly of Sarah, describing her as a dedicated and involved member of the community. Shock and disbelief swept through Pinewood as the news spread, with local stations like WNC covering the tragic event. Fear and curiosity began to take hold of the close-knit neighborhood, a quiet suburb now haunted by an unimaginable crime. Detective Williams felt a growing pressure to solve this case quickly, to restore peace to the neighborhood and bring justice for Sarah. The investigation's first priority was Adam Barnes. Known for his stern demeanor and demanding career as a corporate lawyer, Adam, 48, was often away from home, working long hours to help big banks navigate legal loopholes, even during the Great Recession. His dedication to his job had created some distance between him and Sarah, though he was described by others as deeply committed to his family and had no history of violence. After finding Sarah's body on the morning of March 21, 2012, Adam was visibly shaken. His immediate call to 911 reflected his profound shock and confusion, and as police questioned him, it was clear that the morning's tragedy had left him utterly devastated. Detective Tara Williams and Officer Mark D'Angelo knew they needed to question Adam Barnes thoroughly to rule him out or confirm any suspicions. At the station, Adam sat in a small, sterile interrogation room. He was visibly exhausted, pale, with dark circles under his eyes from a sleepless and traumatic night. Detective Williams began with basic questions about his trip to New York, his relationship with Sarah, and their family life. Adam explained that he had been away on a business trip but returned early to surprise Sarah. He acknowledged that their marriage had been strained due to his long work hours, but he insisted he would never harm her. His responses were cooperative, but his grief was evident. He repeatedly expressed his love for Sarah and his devastation over her death, admitting that their relationship had faced challenges but denying any involvement in her murder. Adam's lawyer, a sharp attorney, was present throughout the questioning, ensuring Adam's rights were protected. Meanwhile, the police verified Adam's alibi. They checked his flight details and confirmed that he had indeed been in New York City for a business meeting with a major bank. Colleagues and clients backed his story, providing him with a solid alibi for the time of the murder. Despite Adam's cooperation and a strong alibi, Detective Williams and her team couldn't entirely dismiss him as a suspect. The brutal nature of the crime suggested a personal motive, and as Sarah's husband, Adam remained a primary person of interest. Yet, without any concrete evidence linking him directly to the scene, the the police had to continue exploring other potential leads. Their next focus turned to James Taylor, an 18-year-old neighbor who had recently graduated from high school and planned to major in engineering. Known for his charm and good looks, James was well-liked in the community. However, a shocking revelation had come to light. James and Sarah had been involved in a secret affair, which added a complex new angle to the investigation. Detective Williams and Officer D'Angelo called James in for questioning. Nervous and visibly uneasy, James entered the interrogation room, fidgeting with his hands. Detective Williams began by asking him about his relationship with Sarah. James admitted to the affair, claiming it was consensual and that he had genuine feelings for her. He said that Sarah had provided him with attention and excitement that he couldn't find elsewhere. When asked about his whereabouts on the night of March 20th, James claimed he was at home, playing video games, specifically mentioning Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, a popular game at the time. However, his alibi was weak since he was alone, with no one to confirm his story. James's behavior during the interrogation was erratic. At times he was calm, while at other moments, he showed signs of agitation and frustration. His emotions fluctuated as the detectives pressed him for more details. During his interrogation, James initially appeared calm but would occasionally burst into anger and frustration, especially when detectives questioned him about the affair. Defensive, he insisted that he would never hurt Sarah. He described their relationship as passionate but claimed it was never violent. However, James's nervous and erratic behavior raised suspicions, prompting the police to dig deeper. The investigators obtained a warrant to search James's home and conducted a thorough inspection of his room. They uncovered several explicit love letters from Sarah and a few intimate photos of them together, which confirmed their relationship. However, they found no physical evidence directly linking James to the murder. In the days following Sarah's death, neighbors reported noticing odd behavior from James. Some said he seemed agitated and jumpy, while others noted he was more withdrawn than usual, far from the friendly and charming young man they were used to. The police made a note of these observations but knew they needed solid evidence to make an arrest. The news of James's involvement with Sarah shocked the community. The once admired boy next door was now shadowed by suspicion. Detective Williams realized they had to dig even deeper into James's background and relationship with Sarah to uncover the full truth. While his affair with Sarah hinted at a potential motive, the team needed more concrete proof to link him directly to the crime. They pressed on with the investigation, aware that each detail could be crucial in solving the case. The investigation soon led them to another potential suspect, Paula Gray, Sarah's best friend and next-door neighbor. Paula, 43, was a stay-at-home mom deeply involved in the church choir, where she often coordinated practices and led Sunday performances. She and Sarah had shared everything, or so Paula thought. Recently, Paula had noticed Sarah acting oddly, which had raised concerns for their friendship and her own family. However, Paula had been completely unaware of Sarah's affair with her son, James. Detective Williams and Officer D'Angelo called Paula in for questioning. She arrived at the station visibly worried but composed. In the small interrogation room, Detective Williams asked Paula about her relationship with Sarah. Paula spoke fondly of Sarah, describing her as a dear friend and confidant. However, she admitted that Sarah had seemed distant and distracted in recent months, which had concerned her. When asked about her whereabouts on the night of March 20th, Paula explained that she had been home, preparing for an upcoming church event. She described tasks such as making decorations and organizing the volunteer list, tasks she could verify with other church members. Paula's alibi seemed solid, but the detectives continued to press. Detective Williams then asked if she knew about Sarah's affair with James. Paula's reaction was one of shock and visible upset. She insisted she had no idea and would never have condoned such behavior. Paula's reaction to learning about Sarah's affair with her son, James, seemed genuine. She was visibly distressed, and the detectives noted her shock and disapproval. When the police asked if she had any motive to harm Sarah, Paula was firm in her denial, insisting that she loved Sarah like a sister and would never hurt her. Overcome with emotion, tears filled her eyes as she continued to deny any involvement in Sarah's death. To confirm Paula's alibi, the detectives interviewed other members of the church choir. They corroborated that Paula had been occupied with church preparations that evening. Additionally, several neighbors reported seeing her at home that night, further supporting her account. Despite her solid alibi, the police still had to keep Paula on their list of potential suspects due to her close relationships with both Sarah and James. They searched her home for any possible evidence, but found nothing linking her to the murder. The community of Pinewood was deeply shaken as the local news, including SOC TV, reported on Paula's questioning, casting suspicion on yet another respected community member. Detective Williams and Officer D'Angelo continued their investigation, aware that Paula's strong alibi and lack of evidence made it increasingly difficult to connect her to the crime. They knew they had to explore every possible angle to uncover the truth behind Sarah Barnes' brutal murder. On the morning of March 25, 2012, a break in the case came with a surprising discovery. It was a sunny day in Pinewood when Detective Williams received a call from a local resident, Leah Johnson. Leah had been walking her dog in a nearby park when she found a small leather-bound journal partially buried under a bush. She quickly reported it to the police, suspecting it might be connected to Sarah's murder. Detective Williams and Officer D'Angelo rushed to the park to retrieve the journal, carefully placing it in an evidence bag before taking it back to the station for examination. The journal turned out to be a partially burnt photocopy of Sarah's secret diary, filled with detailed and personal entries about her affair with James Taylor. Though many pages were too charred to read, some were still legible, revealing Sarah's private thoughts on her marriage, her loneliness, and her struggle with guilt. The diary entries uncovered that Sarah had been planning to end her relationship with James. Overwhelmed with guilt, she had wanted to focus on her family and church work. The diary also noted Sarah's concern over recent changes in James's behavior. She described how he seemed obsessed, once saying he felt lit by an angel's light, and how he pressured her to meet his intense demands for physical affection. The last entry, dated March 19th, revealed Sarah's intention to meet James and formally end their affair. This new evidence shifted the focus of the investigation. Detective Williams and her team now considered the possibility that James Taylor's obsession with Sarah Barnes could have driven him to murder when she attempted to end their relationship. The diary also included unsettling entries describing how Sarah had at times intentionally sought James's attention, even bathing outside in view of his bedroom window. These details painted a calculated and disturbing picture of their tumultuous relationship. The police decided to bring James in for further questioning, hoping to get a reaction by confronting him with the diary entries. At first, James denied everything, but as Detective Williams pressed him with the specific details from the journal, he eventually broke down. He admitted he had fallen deeply in love with Sarah and was devastated when she decided to end things. Detective Williams also noticed his behavior was highly erratic, leading her to request a psychological evaluation. The evaluation suggested that James might be suffering from an undiagnosed bipolar disorder, which could explain his extreme reactions and mood swings. This information added another layer to the investigation, raising the possibility that his mental state could have played a role in Sarah's murder. Meanwhile, the community of Pinewood, eager for answers, grew more anxious as the investigation dragged on. The pressure on the police to solve the case intensified. Detective Williams and her team, piecing together the evidence bit by bit, felt they were getting closer to uncovering the truth behind Sarah Barnes's tragic death. On March 26, 2012, the police made a significant breakthrough. After analyzing Sarah's diary and reviewing James's psychological evaluation, the evidence pointed clearly to him as the prime suspect. Detective Williams and Officer D'Angelo agreed it was time to bring James in for a formal arrest. James Taylor, 18, had been well regarded in the community for his charm and good looks, but the investigation revealed a darker side. He had fallen deeply in love with Sarah, and when she tried to end their affair, he was unable to handle it. His undiagnosed bipolar disorder likely intensified his reactions, leading to possessiveness and obsession. The very thought of losing Sarah pushed him into a fit of rage. The police concluded that on the night of March 20th, James went to the Barnes' house. Knowing Adam was away on a business trip, Sarah let him in, intending to end the relationship, but things quickly spiraled out of control. An argument broke out, escalating rapidly. Overcome by his emotions, James ultimately took Sarah's life in a violent outburst. James Taylor's attack on Sarah Barnes was brutal and filled with rage. He shot her and then stabbed her multiple times, leaving the haunting number 304 carved into her stomach as a final, twisted act of control. On the morning of March 26th, around 10 a.m., the police arrived at the Taylor residence to arrest James. Detective Williams led the team. When they knocked, James's mother, Paula Taylor, opened the door, shocked to see the officers. Inside, James spotted them and tried to flee, but was quickly apprehended. His reaction was a mixture of surprise and resignation. He didn't resist but appeared defeated, as if he knew the weight of his actions had finally caught up with him. Handcuffed, James was taken to the police station, remaining silent throughout the drive, staring blankly into the distance. News of his arrest spread quickly through Pinewood, with local TV stations, including WCNC, covering the story. The community was in disbelief, especially those who had known James as the friendly, charming young man next door. The Barnes family, devastated by Sarah's tragic death, expressed relief that the police had apprehended her murderer. They were grateful for the relentless work of the investigators, yet the depth of their loss was still overwhelming. At the police station, James was formally booked and charged with first-degree murder. During his interrogation, he confessed to the crime, explaining how his intense feelings for Sarah had spiraled into an uncontrollable obsession. He admitted that when Sarah attempted to end their relationship, he snapped, killing her in a fit of rage. James's arrest brought a sense of closure to the community, yet the pain of Sarah's loss continued to linger. Her family and friends tried to move forward, but the memory of that tragic night remained fresh in their minds. The trial of James Taylor began on July 15, 2012, at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse. The courtroom was filled with members of the Pinewood community, including Sarah's family and close friends. The prosecution was led by District Attorney Leah Cortez, a seasoned 50-year-old lawyer known for her tough stance on violent crimes. Leah presented a compelling case, describing how James's obsession with Sarah had driven him to commit murder. She highlighted the brutal nature of the crime, emphasizing the shooting, stabbing, and the chilling 304 carved into Sarah's body. To strengthen her case, Leah called on forensic experts who detailed the evidence collected at the scene, including DNA and fingerprints linking James directly to the crime. She also presented entries from Sarah's diary, which documented her affair with James and her recent intentions to end it. On the defense, James was represented by Richard Blake, a calm and methodical 45-year-old attorney. Blake argued that James's undiagnosed bipolar disorder played a significant role in his actions. During the trial, defense attorney Richard Blake called medical experts to testify about James Taylor's mental state, arguing that his undiagnosed bipolar disorder could have led to a loss of control. Blake highlighted James's young age and lack of any prior criminal record, suggesting that he deserved some leniency. Throughout the proceedings, Sarah Barnes's family sat in the courtroom with heavy hearts. Her husband, Adam, and their children, Hannah and Luke, frequently broke down in tears as they listened to the painful details of Sarah's murder. Community members attending the trial showed their support for the Barnes family, hoping justice would finally be served. After weeks of testimonies and deliberations, the jury reached a verdict on August 12, 2012. James Taylor was found guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the sentence was read, a heavy silence fell over the courtroom. James showed little emotion, accepting his fate with a blank stare. For Sarah's family and friends, the verdict brought a measure of closure, though the pain of her loss was still profound. They believed the punishment was just, given the brutality of the crime and the deep impact it had on their lives. The community of Pinewood felt a mixture of relief and sorrow, knowing justice had been served yet mourning the loss of a beloved community member. Local news stations, including WCNC, covered the trial extensively, highlighting the emotional journey of the Barnes family and the community's reaction to the verdict. The case became a major topic in homes, schools, and churches as everyone tried to process the tragedy that had shaken their peaceful suburb. After the trial concluded, life in Pinewood slowly began to return to normal, though the scars of Sarah Barnes's murder lingered. For the Barnes family, the verdict brought a sense of closure, knowing that James would spend the rest of his life behind bars for taking Sarah away from them. Adam focused on rebuilding his life and supporting his children, Hannah and Luke, as they struggled with the loss of their mother. The community rallied around the Barnes family, offering support and comfort. Neighbors organized meal trains and helped with childcare, easing the burden on Adam as he adjusted to life as a single parent. The local church, where Sarah had been an active member, held memorial services in her honor, celebrating her life and the positive impact she'd had on those around her. Meanwhile, Paula Taylor faced her own grief and challenges. As James's mother and Sarah's best friend, Paula was devastated by both the betrayal and the loss. She withdrew from her usual church activities and community events, instead choosing to focus on supporting her son through letters and occasional visits to the prison. James Taylor, now incarcerated at Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina, began his adjustment to life behind bars. He received counseling and medication to manage his bipolar disorder, aiming to bring stability to his mental health while serving his life sentence. Although he expressed remorse for his actions, James understood the severity of his crime and the devastating impact it had on Sarah Barnes's family and the entire community. The people of Pinewood, though scarred by the tragedy, began to move forward, remaining vigilant while cherishing the memory of Sarah. The events of March 2012 had left an indelible mark on their once quiet suburb, but through unity and resilience, Pinewood remained a close-knit community. Neighbors continued to support one another, finding strength in their shared experiences and their resolve to prevent such tragedy from recurring. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mr. Crime Tales. The story of Sarah Barnes serves as a poignant reminder of the hidden struggles and dangerous secrets that can lie beneath even the most perfect-seeming lives. Join us next time as we uncover another chilling tale from the annals of true crime.